So during the shutdown, the pandemic in 2020, I, like a lot of people, was consuming a lot of TV. Kind of came to the end of, watched everything on Netflix and rewatched the show Supernatural for the third time. But disclaimer, I have not watched the final season because it was too upsetting to conceive of. I think they do away with a couple of my favorite characters. And two, it was like, if you don't watch the last season, it's like the show never ended. That's the first book I wrote is the book that I'm about to release in 2 weeks, less than 2 weeks, on the 22nd. It's called Descendants of the Gods. I wrote that as fan fiction for Supernatural. So the main male character is like Dean Winchester. He's got a partner. His partner's not his brother. It's a guy that he met when he was a kid. They were in a junkyard, and he was with his dad. And so they're partners. They're like best friends, partners. It's, kind of, there's like a little bit of a big brother, sort of almost dad vibe because the guy's a little bit older. But anyway, and they need help with a case. And it's kind of like, it's a little bit like, they're like the X-Files, kind of like Men in Black, kind of supernatural. So they need her to translate. They need this university professor to translate some cuneiform for them. And that starts this whole, changes everybody's lives forever. And in this book, I knew that in this love interest with Finley is the lead female character. I knew that I wanted there to be a little bit of a tension, but there was going to be a scene where Luke was like questioning whether she was now dating her ex, but I didn't want him to really be an ex. So I made this, her best friend is a former Navy SEAL, and he's like deep, deep, deep in the closet. And she introduced him to his live-in boyfriend, and nobody knows that he's gay. And it was very important that to the story that he'd be so deep in the closet that, like, Luke, who actually the reader knows is an NSA agent, like, could get all the background on this guy, but there's nothing that says he's gay. So he's like, oh my God, he's back with her, like she's back with him, like whatever. I wanted there to be that tension, but I didn't want it to ever have been romantic. So this is my long story short, telling you that, like, I didn't set out to write romance, male romance. I didn't set out to write queer romance. I set out to write supernatural fan fiction. But every time I wrote about Matt, that's his name, and every time I wrote about Matt, I was like, God, he's such an interesting character. Like, and then knew that she had introduced him to his boyfriend, Ollie, who is a British lawyer. And they met in Oxford, Finn and Ollie. And she introduced them. And so I was always like, when I was writing them, I was like, there's a story there. And then they started nagging on me. They were like, tell our story. We're more interesting. So I opened I opened a new document and I wrote 6 books about them. And I put Finn, her story went to the back burner. And they just, like Matt and Ollie, they get up to some shenanigans. As Matt, people either really love the books or they hate the books, and I'm fine with that. I want, I don't want to be a middle of the road, like, yeah, it was okay.